Hi, I'm Jack Canfield. You may know me as the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, including Chicken Soup for the Baseball Fan Soul with Tommy Lasorda, and also the author of the Success Principles and featured teacher in the movie The Secret. And if you haven't heard about the 162 Challenge by now, I hope you have. This is a really great pledge opportunity for you to make a difference to 4 charities that are helping kids, that are helping fallen firefighters, that are really making a difference in the world. And what you get to do is for every home run that the Yankees hit, you can pledge from 50 cents up to $5 for every home run. And that money then will be charged to you and go to the cause. And if you're a Yankees fan, you want them to hit home runs, so it's a win-win all around. So I always support anything that supports good causes, so I'm supporting this. So Steve and Marybeth are doing this great challenge. They're going to every single Yankees game this year. That's either a commitment or craziness, but I honor them. I wish I was going. It's really cool. And so you can be part of this. Make sure you pledge, make a difference. We're always asked, what can I do to make a difference? This is how you can. So go and do it right now. Go to 162crew.com.
Okay, welcome back for another episode of the 162 Experience. Couldn't be more excited to have our guest here today. He is an icon in sports business and sports marketing. He's a best-selling author. He's a philanthropist. He's just a gentleman that's been there and done that. Brandon, loved your book, Gotta Have Balls. Just devoured it over the last couple weeks, read it twice, and learned a lot about you and what it took. My parents are both from Greenpoint, Brooklyn, so certainly relate to your humble beginnings.
Not an easy place to grow up. It was rough back then in Greenpoint.
And what's your earliest Yankee memory?
Oh, simple. There's a couple, but obviously the first time you walk into that stadium and you see, especially the old stadium before even they did the renovation, you look and it's just, it's everything Billy Crystal talks about when he says, you just see this green grass, especially in Brooklyn. You never saw that much green grass. And just even the outside, this big, beautiful, white, creamy white, building that you just can't wait to go see what's inside. Certainly, I was looking through my programs. Obviously, I'm a saver and a collector. And I was thinking about this with some old friends of mine, John Palladino and Bob Purtis and Henry Delgadio, Glenn, and we had a bunch of us. We still get together. We grew up in Brooklyn. And I was looking through these scorecards. We always kept track of the score. We did scorecards. Even when we were home, I kept track of score. But we were 10 years old, and we were going to bad days and 15, 20 games, doubleheaders on a Sunday, waiting in between games. And that's what I remember. I remember going to see the Seattle Pilots, seeing the Cleveland Indians, seeing the Harmon Killebrew, and also going to Shea Stadium as well. But it boggles me that I got on a train with 4 or 5 other 10 and 11, 12-year-olds, and we went for the day. No phones, no communication, and that was nothing thought. And back then, Yankee Stadium wasn't necessarily the safest, certainly as it is now. I mean, where you don't even think twice about going to the Bronx. 30, 40 years ago, actually 50 years ago. I mean, you worried a little bit about the Bronx and the neighborhood. So you got beat up a little bit, or you got mugged a little bit. It was no big deal. It was all part of building the character. If you didn't, my watch got stolen, or they took the $5. I mean, that was kind of part of the course. But I guess things have changed. But that's what I remember most. Going to a lot of those bad days and watching Thurman and Roy White, and they weren't the best of winning days in those late '60s, '70s. Just the end of Mantle's run. And there's one more thing. I saw Mantle hit a home run in a twilight doubleheader, left and right, with my dad. It was really the only game I recall going to with my dad, and I really want to go to a twilight doubleheader. So I've gone on the weekends all the time, but I just thought about leaving school early and watching. It was my first night game, and so it was like a day and night. It was really fun. Like I was getting my money's worth. 2 games. That was pretty cool, and the seats weren't too bad. That was a very vivid memory of that.
You're such an entrepreneur. Even I laugh when I'm reading your book about how maybe you're at a Knicks game and you're like, what can we sell here? And you're looking at the floor and the nets and the. Did you do that? Do you remember doing that when you were 10 or 11?
Not really. I mean, I was just really trying to see if I could scrape enough money to buy the cool hat, across the street at Stan's or one of those places, and maybe you can get a button. I saved everything. I wasn't thinking about sports from a monetary standpoint back then. But I was thinking of selling everything else, I wonder if I could set up a pretzel stand outside there, that kind of thing. But, I was wondering what the hot dog vendors were making, if that was a worthwhile proposition, and also get to watch games at the same time. You know, I looked at sports as a escape. You know, it was something, you know, things were tough as a kid. You know, it wasn't an easy childhood as far as having the comforts. So, you know, you turn the TV on, that was cheap. And you can kind of get absorbed in with Frank Messer, Phil Rizzuto, Ralph Kiner, Lindsey Nelson. But remember, there wasn't a lot of games. They weren't all on easy TV. So you try to watch the games you could. And that was a good escape for me. And then, you know, playing sports was a tremendous escape because it's something that with the ADHD, you know, you could burn out some of your energy and then compete with your friends. And it just seemed like you could be doing that all day and literally into the night.
One of the things I enjoyed most about your book, Gotta Have Balls, is your relationship with your mom and how influential she was in your early days. You know, maybe talk a little bit about that, about how she impacted you and the business guy you are today.
Well, my mother was an entrepreneur. Her favorite line was, "You gotta have balls." She was a feisty, you know, spirited risk taker, so to speak. And she was always, you know, really promoting, go after it. You know, don't hesitate. Follow your dreams. You know, be aggressive, but do it right, and do it big. I think, you know, my mom was a great advisor, a great mentor, along with being a great mom. And you know, sometimes you listen to your parents, sometimes you don't. I was just one of those kids who listened to his mom. I think that a big part of who you are is, you know, where you were raised and who raised you. So, you know, if you're a young person out there watching this, I mean, you can make believe like you think you know what you know and you don't really need your parents' help, but at the end, they've had a tremendous impact on you. So you might as well pay the rest of the hand out. And you don't have to do everything they tell you, but they know you better than anyone. And I think my mom knew me. She gave me a lot of good advice and really promoted me going out to the street and hustling.
Yeah, I can tell. I loved, well, first of all, the sporting club. My brother lived at 111 Hudson.
Oh, right near 99, right?
99. And so,
that was like desolate. But that's the balls. Like, but I just got to tell you, this is kind of like the aha moment. I remember I was standing in front of my mom's beauty parlor. She had a salon. And she said to me, Brandon, what are you doing? I told you to give out circulars underneath the L, and that was the F train 2 blocks away. She was on East 2nd Street. And I don't understand why you're not underneath the L where the people are coming off the train. And, you know, in Brooklyn, during rush hour, hundreds and hundreds of people, every time a train would pull in, would get off at King's Highway. It was a major express stop. I said, Mom, I got people working. She says, you're 12. What do you mean you got people working? And I said, well, I went around to the other stores in the neighborhood and I got them to give me some money and give out their circulars. And I also, since he goes, well, your friends can't get paid. Their parents aren't going to lie. I said, well, I know that. You're right. I couldn't pay them cash, but what I could pay them in is fireworks. So I bought a bunch of fireworks, gave my friends the fireworks, then getting paid, made some money on that. And then I have my friends giving out at every entrance the circulars for the 4 or 5 stores and your salon. I'm supervising. And that's when I knew that I had, you know, when you're 12 and you're doing that kind of stuff, 12, 13, and you know, you have that kind of hustle and vision about how to get your friends to work. How to motivate them, but I knew the fireworks would work. So, you know, when you look back at the sporting club, it's that kind of, you know, vision in the balls, because I left, leaving the Hard Rock. I mean, was maybe the most successful restaurant I've ever seen open in New York. And I've been in this business a long time. I mean, 250 people online, 7 days a week for the first year and a half. So to do that and open up what was a really not known concept, which was the sports bar with a big Caesar's Palace scoreboard and a big screen. I remember Keith Hernandez walking in. I'd made some friends with some athletes at the Hard Rock because there were so many rock and rollers going in there that nobody really paid much attention to the athletes. So I made some friends, Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry, Ron Dawling, a few of those. And Keith said, if you have a problem, like, something wrong? Like, why would you leave that? I mean, this place is empty. And why do you think someone's going to come in here and watch a game and eat? I said, I got a feeling. I got a good feeling about this concept. And I see it differently. I see this whole thing different. And I think from an entrepreneurship, what I like to promote at this moment, if you really feel like you have some entrepreneur spirit, is that it's not a comfortable, nice, wonderful feeling. Like being a really consummate entrepreneur is, you go into some really dark holes, some really weird places, and you're seeing things that most other people don't. You're looking at things completely differently than the way most other people look at it. And, you almost consider it a little bit strange and a little weird, and you will be into arguments and fights with people to try to drive home the way you see it.
Sure.
And that most of the people are driving the way the majority of people see it, and you're in a place that's just completely different in that. And the sporting club is just a typical example of a lot of things that I saw that most people didn't see. And I think to get to a true entrepreneurial spirit, you need obviously leadership. You need to understand the marketplace, and I saw sports starting to pick up, and you have to be able to take risk. And if you can do those three things, risk, leadership, and understanding where the market is and where you think it needs to go, that's a tremendous initiator as far as your core to get into an entrepreneurship mindset. Most people fail on the risk part. They have some vision, they're ready to go, but then all of a sudden they don't want to put the kahunas on the table or, bet anything, God forbid they lose, then they get all kind of panicky, because as you move into that zone, there's compromise, there are adjustments. Your first idea is usually not your best idea, and that's when you really got to get to even a darker, deeper place, because everybody told you that your idea sucked, and now it's maybe coming true, but yet in your heart and soul that idea is a good one, but just maybe you're just off a little bit, most likely.
Yeah.
Even look at George Steinbrenner, one of the greatest owners of all time. I don't think anybody had the vision about a team like he did. I remember him coming up to Syracuse when I was a freshman, and the first person ever said, this sports thing's a business. I'm like, what? This sports thing's a business. You go to Yankee Stadium, you look at my stadium, it's immaculate. You don't find any paint cracking. The security guards are dressed the same. I run that thing like a tight business. It's well run. I want the fans to have an amazing experience. And everything from the bathrooms, everything needs to be managed and monitored like the way you would a business. And at that time, a lot of ballparks you go in, it wasn't really that great.
Yeah.
So, but he had that vision, and then I'm sure a lot of people look at it like, yeah, right. But meanwhile, look what he did with that franchise and how he built and grew it, and what it stands for now. It's just, you can't just, there's nothing. If you're trying to build a franchise, it's always second place, I think, to the Yankees.
Sure.
There's no better franchise on the planet.
And you ever get intimidated in the early days by dealing with, your Darryl Strawberry and Ron Darling and LT and just those guys in the mid-'80s when you're just getting started? Was that, were you starstruck at all?
What's crazy is no. I always felt like, if not me, then who? Excited, yes. Mm-hmm. Overly excited, yes. And I really try to maintain that excitement, even to this day. I always tell Mariano, and I don't want his head to get too big, but it's just, God knows, too big already. But and rightfully so. Great person. But I always say, Mariano, as many times I've been with you since '96, hundreds of times, I'm still excited every time I get to hang with you because I learned something. And I think that people that do extraordinary things, regardless, they always have something extraordinary to share. You don't just become extraordinary and the best at what you do by accident just because you have God-given talent. I remember being on the field at Yankee Stadium for Mariano Day, and they surprised me. I was the first person to get called onto the field to congratulate Mariano. Awesome. It was 50,000. The place was jammed. I'm like, oh my God! I thought I was just going to give him a gift, And then I get called on, and I always told when we out in the outfield with the obstructed view, the $1.50 seats back in the early '70s, late '60s, we always said one of us got to make it on that field, without getting arrested, either playing, umpiring. And as soon as I get off that field, I'm texting all my friends, I'm like, I'm here. There's something special about going on that field, and I've always had that feeling. If not me, then who? Yeah, I remember like Derek walking, looking at me, going, "How you on? Because I was the only non-Yankee on the field that day. He's like, "How are you on the field right now?" And I'm like, "If not me, then who? What do you mean? Am I on that field? You kidding me? You know what I do for this guy? Like, of course I'm on the field. Like, and I think part of it is, I think what's really important as an entrepreneur, and as somebody that I think if you want to be highly successful, whatever phase, you have to give yourself permission to do that. And I do. I have that. If not me, then who? I'm going to work hard. I don't want anything given for free. But I have given myself permission to get to the levels that I want to get to and not feel bashful and shy about it.
Yeah. Was that one of your Steinerisms? If not me, then who?
No, but it sounds like a good one. Like I remember I was in a dugout and the lady was, I was about to do a check presentation. She's like, "Don't talk to anybody." I'm like, "Don't talk to anybody. I know all these guys." So I start talking to CC. I'm talking to Joe Girardi. I'm talking to everybody. She's like, I'm like, "I know these guys." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm ready to stay in this dugout." I would always see when I was on the field. I would always see like Joe Torre and Mattingly would be sitting in the dugout. I'd say, "Joe, I can help you with that lineup. I know I can inspire. I know I could add something." Like, "Oh, Brandon, I think we're okay today. I think we got it." Always with a straight, serious face. I love Mr. Torre. I mean, he's such a gem, and he always put up with my nonsense. But and that's what made that's what made like Joe so special, is that he can have fun with that. He have to be as serious could be too. And but I always would say, I'm ready to come. I'm ready to I can be your bench coach. I can help out. Not so fast. So I think, if not me, then who? And I think, I don't get too caught up in the, wow, I can't believe. Although once in a while, I know I'm going to miss some of these days when I'm in my office, I'm having a meeting with a Mark Messier, or, just the other day I was sitting watching the game with Tino. He just came, sat down next to me in my seats, and we watched the game on Saturday together.
That's great.
And, I'm sitting there going, wow, man, it's pretty cool. I mean, obviously I know Tino for a long time, but it's great to sit next to him and get his view, knowing what he knows. And that's what really kind of gets me gassed, because I don't really always know all the inside. And he's down in the farm systems, with all these guys. And that's what gets me juiced up, is that, when I'm doing stuff like that, when I get to, do stuff that, I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. I mean, I'm sitting in the first row, which is pretty good from all the way out in those outfield seats. And then now I'm sitting next to like a Yankee legend. It's cool.
And as you're expanding your business, I saw that you just had Ohtani. You guys just signed him. Do you have folks all over the world that are working with you? Are you doing everything over the phone?
We're collaborating. I think that I think to do something extraordinary, I used to feel like I needed to be dominant. I needed to have it all. I feel like to do anything really extraordinary, I think you got to team up with other quality people and other quality partners. It's probably the best work I've done has been the partnerships, not me thinking I can conquer the world. And Tony's a perfect example. I mean, he's a CAA guy. That's a great agency that represent him. They end up doing a deal with Topps, which they do a great job. They're trading cards, and we're like one of their master distributors. And I would have liked to have signed him exclusively, but he was a guy that I believed in. But I think he was a good fit for Topps because the trading card was a big play as part of it. And now we get to partner with Topps. So, I've kind of learned to do that, as opposed to, because, for a while, you're a Brooklyn guy, you want to win every battle, you want to win every game. Not that I still don't want to win, but I understand collaboration sometimes. All of us are better than some of us, kind of thing.
You see so many different videos of different guys in the sports world that are endorsing you and saying that they trust you, and, when your word's your word. How great does that feel?
It's it's the responsibility that it feels good, but people would always say, what's it like? You have Jeter, you have Mariano, you have Eli, you have Muhammad Ali or Cal Ripken, and I'm like, it feels good, but it's strenuous because you don't want to screw it up, and there's a lot of accountability, and these are brands that are really big, and I'm running around this office, and we have 100 employees here at Steiner, and you got to make sure that we don't minimize the stupid stuff, because these are real brands that are big, and sometimes get a second chance.
Yeah, for sure. In your book, you said you get asked a lot, what makes a successful entrepreneur, and you responded with, a better question is, who makes a successful entrepreneur? Maybe you could address that.
I mean, first, I think a lot of times kids are worried about, what they're going to do, how they're going to go make a quick dollar or become rich. And I think they need to become more concerned about what kind of person and what kind of culture, what kind of person they want to be. And I think that it goes back to the most people want to do well, so they could do good.
Yeah.
And I think that the goal is how much good can I do, and as a byproduct of doing good, you'll do well. And I think that's the case with entrepreneurism. I think if you really want to get into your entrepreneur spirit, it's like, who can you help? Not how much money can I make. The problem I see kids, and most about entrepreneurism is so much more than just business or sports, or you can be an entrepreneurial doctor, writer, teacher. I've seen some great entrepreneurs in politics, although not lately. But you see all these different methods of entrepreneurism. But the key underlying factor to being a great entrepreneur is, who can I help and what difference can I make? And then as a byproduct of helping as many people as you can and difference that you've made, maybe you're lucky enough also at the same time as a byproduct, you'll make money and be financially successful. And I think that everybody's thinking like, how can I get rich quick and how can I come up with a real good scheme? I mean, yeah, sure, when I was 14 years old, I was coming up with trying to get rich schemes. I'm selling conditions on the beach. I'm like, shit, if I sell soda and Oreo cookies, the Oreo cookies would draw the kids in, I'll make more money. I don't think that was like to make the world a better place. That was just an entrepreneurial scheme to try to sell more conditions and soda by looping in the kids. And that's a pretty good idea for 15, those kinds of things. But I think as you get older, it really is about the good you can do. I feel like some of the joy we've created here at Steiner for people has always been my intent. How can I wow people and blow them away, get them closer to the game, get you to meet your favorite athlete in an experiential situation that you never really dreamt of having, getting on a baseball field with your idol or getting on a basketball court with your idol. That's the stuff that juices people up. And then, I've done well as a byproduct of doing that good.
Yeah, and what would you say at this point of your career you're most excited about?
It's a good question. I mean, as you get a little older, I mean, I'm trying to reset my purpose, trying to reset my thinking. I'm doing this now 30 years, and it gets a little harder, to get excited, from everything. To reinvent your excitement about being married. I'm married 29 years. Excited about being a parent in a different role, and now I've got to make appointments up to see my kids. They're all over the place. It's supposed to, take me here, take me there. So, you're trying to reset and refire, my purpose because, I've accomplished a lot of my goals that I was set when I was younger. And now I'm trying to actually become a little more significant as opposed to be successful and trying to leave a little more of a legacy with the causes and the people that I want to help the most, especially a lot of them that help me. I mean, there's no way I get to this point without so many people and so many places that have helped me, especially as a young kid and as a young man. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think the excitement for me is, how can I roll back and roll up my sleeves and continue to do the good, continue to help the people now knowing what I know. I haven't been one of those. I think there's something about helping people, but then if you've been one of those people and you've experienced it, not because something happened that was close to you, not because it was some urgent matter, somebody's sister dies, unfortunately, of lymphoma, and now all of a sudden you want to raise money for lymphoma. But it's nothing like when you are a recovering person, you've seen what it means to go through the chemo, you've gone to the hospitals,
sure.
And then you know what it's like to be that person. You know what those treatment centers need. I know what those Boys and Girls Clubs need. I lived in them.
Yeah.
I know the difference that those places make. So, to give back to those places is a true blessing. I've been doing that for a while, and now I feel like I could even accelerate it and do even a little more.
Yeah, we certainly do. And I love your TV show, The Hookup, too, on the Yes Network.
We're taking a little break, a little sabbatical on that, but hopefully we're going to pick it up this summer. I love that show. I just wish the Yes Network loved that show. I think it was like my best work because it was
people love that stuff.
Doing God's work. You're doing really good stuff. You're blowing people away. Unfortunately, for Yes, it wasn't like the kind of money maker that they've seen. They didn't see the genuine, the empathetic part of it all. The empathy is such an important characteristic. I think in every organization and every person needs to have empathy and compassion. I think that show, what was important, not only the work that I was doing, but I think that people need an example. Like they need to know that they can do that. So the show had two components. It was just doing the work, but it was showing people that you don't need to write a big check to do the work. You can blow somebody away on one particular day, one particular hour, if you took the time. And I thought the show set a really good example to do that, not only from, wow, Steiner's a good company, they're doing good work, and look at he's a nice guy. No, like you could do that.
Yeah.
Like you can go and surprise a big brother, big sister, and really take this kid and have him experience something. You can go into a Boys and Girls Club and donate some computers. So I love that work. I mean, it exists on BrandonSteiner.com, a lot of the episodes. And also I just love the work with the players because I think people don't see the players in that light all the time. In an individual level, when you see their compassion, when you see a Mariano going to a library, or you see a David Cohen going to a kid's house, that's struggling with ADHD, or Victor Cruz, who goes into a Boys and Girls Club. Like, I love that show, man. I think it was like maybe some of my best work, and hopefully we're going to pick it back up again. We're always doing hookups though here, but whether we do them on a formalized way, like on TV, I've been talking with Randy Levine, the Yankees, about resetting that, maybe incorporating that into Yankee Magazine. If any Yankee fans out there, I love Yankee Magazine. It would be a good fit for me to do a feature like a couple times a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And is it, now that you're in the business and Yankees are, I don't know, would you consider them a client or a partner, I guess you could say?
Well, a partner, I mean, it's Yankee Steiner, which I'm very blessed, to put my name next to theirs. Obviously a brand like the Yankees. I mean, obviously, to give and be in the same breath is a blessing, and I never take it a day for granted.
I love in the book where you're talking about, you see a friend in the parking lot, and he's like, I can't be seen with you. And you're like, what do you mean? And then he proceeds, everybody's asking about you. What was that experience like negotiating with the Yanks?
It was intense, but it was exciting because there was unknown, and I felt like my back's against the wall against a franchise that I loved. And I knew that Mr. Steinbrenner was a little nervous about, making sure his fans, I think what people don't realize is the Yankees, their number one priority is their fans. Obviously, it's putting a good field, fielding a good team. But I don't think that people realize the intensity level they have towards their fan base and making sure they're safe, giving them great value. When you walk around the ballpark and think about the giveaway days and some of the little stuff that they do,
Sure.
I've been to every ballpark. I've done partnerships with so many other teams. Nobody does it like the Yankees. And it's not by accident. It's really on purpose. So I think, at that time I was nervous because Mr. Steinbrenner was nervous. Like, where is this stuff going? What's going on with these autographs? What's going on with game used? And what's great is I did have a little relationship with Mr. Steinbrenner prior. And then Randy Levine had jumped in and intervened and really started looking into the business and listening. And he was really the pioneer. He probably doesn't get a lot of credit, but he was really the guy that engineered the whole thing. I mean, he heard me, obviously understood the concerns the Yankees had, and he did what no one else was willing to do. Because I called a lot of teams up, nobody wanted anything to do with me.
Sure.
So, here I am thinking of maybe it ends with the Yankees, and it's like no one else is really interested in even talking to me. And here Randy took about 1.5 years of his time on many, many meetings to understand how this works. It wasn't like we just jumped into this. Yeah. And the whole premise of it was when we got past maybe Steiner, what he is doing isn't that bad, and maybe what he could do could be actually good for the Yankees. And I say this to the players and the fans, like nobody was recording and nobody was monitoring, managing all this stuff, putting order to it so that 50 years down the road, somebody's not sitting with some bootleg bat or jersey or something fraudulent. And the Yankees had to put a lot of time and energy into place on this. So I'm very grateful. I mean, it went from very negative, potentially, at least in my own mind,
Sure.
to a very positive situation. And it took 1.5 years of a lot of conversations to get there. But I think that it just showed me it wasn't just a money thing for the Yankees, but it was a prioritization thing, which says, if we're going to take care of our fans, we can't have a bunch of stuff out there. We're not sure what's real, what's not. And we have a franchise where most of the things that occur on a year-to-year basis is kind of historic. And we should protect that, and we should secure it and authenticate it. And then I'm very grateful they trusted me to do it. We were able to come up with a really good plan that I think has rocked a lot of Yankee fans, to be honest with you. And we've done a lot of really good work, and we've done a lot of really good work with the Yankee players and made them some money too.
You talked earlier about risk in business. Was the demolition of Yankee Stadium like the biggest risk you ever took? I know in the book you talked about, it cost you about $11 million, another $6 million in demolition costs and stuff.
I mean, the old Yankee Stadium is, certainly one of the most greatest stadiums of all time on the planet. It's funny, we're doing this deal and there's so many details. It's hard to even elaborate in such a conversation like this, but when I tell you 2 years of back and forth, wasn't because of difficulty, but of detail. And because, the Yankees are a big organization and Yankee Stadium is a big place in many ways. And I don't know what got into me, but at the end, because I wasn't feeling like they were going to rebuild the old Yankee Stadium or get rid of it, but I said to Randy and Lon Trost, I said, listen, if by chance ever there is a new stadium where we have to take down the old one, I really like to be that person to do it. And, they looked at me and said, listen, son, if our partnership's what we think it's going to be, we would trust you, and we'll cross that bridge, but, you have our word that when we get down to that, we'll make it happen. We'll do it together. And they didn't have to do it with me. They had other shortcuts to do it. And when I explained my plan about it, was a much more work. It was a tedious approach that I was taking. But because I had the relationship with Randy and Lon, like, they believed me, that they knew that even though this was more work and they had a lot on their plate with the new stadium, they easily could have said, Brandon, this is just not worth it. But they knew that the fans were the priority. And that's the stuff. Like, they made the fans the priority, because to let that stadium go and not let every fan get a little piece. Most people would have just sold the seats, sold a couple of the high-priced items and moved on. I went and I wanted to do hundreds of thousands of items and put a whole product line together, which was really wide, labor-intensive, and stupid. But I knew it was sometimes stupid is you can't supersede, what's best for the fans and what's best for the brand. And they knew that I was all in on the brand. I was like, listen, I don't know how much money we're going to make on this thing, but I do know that we're going to make fans really happy.
Yeah.
And there's how much money you make, but then when you make somebody happy, that make is much more important. And I'm very grateful that the Yankees gave me the chance to do that. It was definitely more work than I thought, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way too, but I know that the way we broke the stadium up, it would never be done like that again, and I know a lot of fans were happy.
Do you still have inventory?
Not much. We're pretty much done with it. We're quite a ways out, 9 years out on it. We don't have a lot of seats left. We're pretty much done with it, and we pretty much sold everything through.
I was really surprised how many of the players bought seats. That was interesting.
Yeah. Players around the world. I mean, not only baseball players, but remember, there are a lot of different events that happen at Yankee Stadium, boxing and some different football games and some different stuff. So there are definitely people, you'd be surprised when you start getting into the analytics of history at that stadium. There were people that had experiences there, and they want to have their little piece. And we were happy to sell it to them and get it to them. And I'm grateful to be in the middle of it. It was fun.
Cool. One or two more questions. I just want to do a quick commercial for our charity. As you know, we were talking about.
I love this. This is awesome. Well, I mean, you're front running here, because the Yankees are going to hit a gazillion home runs. I mean, I don't think there's ever going to be a year where they're going to. But I mean, it's amazing between what firepower. So this is a no-brainer promotion. I mean,
cool. Thanks.
Hopefully, you're going to raise a lot of money. You're not going to be hurting to raise money because the Yankees didn't come through hitting home runs.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to cut off your promo.
No, you're right. I was on with the. So we have 4 charities. Ed Randall's talking baseball.
Of course.
My family comes from firefighters, so we have a Fallen Firefighters Foundation. We support an orphanage in Guatemala, and then Sloan Memorial Sloan Kettering as well. And so we try to pick something that hit a little bit of everybody. We're on our initial conference call, and we tell everybody, okay, guys, there's 2 ways that we're going to raise money. One is the Yankees hit a lot of home runs, and the second is we get a lot of pledges. And we can't do anything about the Yankee home runs, So what you guys can do is help us pledge and get the word out and stuff like that. But our goal is to raise $162,000. We've got about $25,000.
Where do you go to do it?
So far, you go to the 162crew.com, and people can pledge, any amount they want. We have,
cool. I gotta put that on my Twitter.
We'd love it.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I'll do that. Yeah.
And it was cool. We have different amounts. Like the 1 is the Billy Martin, the 3 is the Babe Ruth, and the 7 is the Mick. And so people.
That's where I feel blessed. Like I got to hang out with Billy Martin a couple nights. I got to hang out with Mickey. Mickey really took a loving to me. Treated me great. I'm very grateful. Represented Phil Rizzuto right when he got into the Hall. So I had him for about 8 years. And Yogi, my relationship, I don't know where I'd be, without Yogi. What Yogi's done for myself and Steiner. He's just a real loyal game changer for us at Steiner. I mean, so to think about working with those Yankee legends like Whitey Ford and all these different guys. I mean, it is a dream come true. And I think your dreams can come true if you are willing to put the energy and time into making sure you dream them.
How great is it though that to be a Yankees fan and to be able to do your business not just around the Yankees now, but primarily getting started that way.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I never dreamt of it. So people always say, did you ever dream of this? I'm like, no. But I did dream of being really successful and running a company. I always felt that was going to happen. I had that in the cards since I've been a young teenager. Yeah. But I didn't really know much about the sports business. It didn't really much exist. Yeah. So I always thought that was going to be more in the hotel restaurant. I was a foodie.
It seems like you brought your hospitality knowledge and everything to everything that you do now. My girlfriend Marybeth, who thanks Marybeth for setting up this interview. She's very persistent, right?
Absolutely, as she should be.
As she should be. And And so she's from the hospitality industry. She owned a restaurant at age 18, and so that's one of the things that she most liked about your book. You Got to Have Balls as well.
Well, it's about serving. I mean, I think anybody who's successful knows that it's not about selling, it's about serving. And I think you get a really quick dose and a hard dose of serving people when you have to serve them breakfast. Yeah. Not lunch, not dinner, breakfast. I want it now, and you get 50 different ways how you want it different than what's on the menu. And by the way, bring me my 4th cup of coffee before you even bring me my first. I mean, there's not a more difficult meal to serve. And I think when you serve breakfast, there's something about that experience. I always like to hire somebody who's maybe had that kind of experience because it's true. I mean, it is about serving people. To be successful, anybody who's had some financial success knows about serving.
Yeah, it's so funny because that's what she had. She had a breakfast place on the beach down in South Jersey called Marybeth's Cafe, right? Awesome. And we'll wrap it up here soon. Thanks again for doing this. We certainly appreciate it. I'm a big fan of your work on and off the field. Yes, sir. And what do you think about the Yankees this year? You think we got a chance?
Yeah, I mean,
I hope so.
I don't put the players on the field, and to be honest with you, I'm a huge Yankee management fan, and I always have been. I mean, I think they're one of the best management organizations in sports, and it's not a mistake that they win. I think the winning is just a byproduct of great management, doing all the right things on purpose. I mean, I'm a big Aaron Boone fan. Love Joe Girardi too. Was a good friend of our company, but Aaron is a great guy, always has been, and I think that's a great choice. And and last but not least, certainly, as I'm a huge Brian Cashman fan. I believe in him, and if you believe in the guy that's going to get the groceries and understands how to put the right talent on the field, I don't know. I never played a day of baseball in my life, so people always say, "What do you think of the Yankees?" I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the CC's velocity. I mean, how do I know? I mean, that's what But what I do know is that we shouldn't take somebody like a Brian Cashman or even a Randy Levine or those Lantros. Like, you shouldn't take those guys for granted because we see other organizations that don't. That spend the same kind of money too. Like, it's not just the money; it's about the methodology, the strategy, and having worked closely with them, I know how hard they work at that. I handle my little part of it, which is, certainly I touch a lot of players and I get involved with certain aspects of the stadium, but it's a small little part. But they're smart enough to know, like, Brandon's really good at this part, and they've got different people that are really good at the other parts. And that's what I love that's what motivates me and it gets me excited is because you're working with the best. And they expect me to be the best. So I like this team. I mean, I love the kids so much. I think youth and young talent is hot, sexy. And I hope that we can stay along that path. There's just nothing like guys that grow up in the farm systems. We draft them. They come up as rookies, and you see them in their diapers. Yeah. You see guys get their first hit, their first home run, all that stuff. It's like, I think it's just priceless. I mean, there's nothing like winning. But that's probably the second best thing. I know we've now gotten a dose of that over the last 2-3 years at the stadium, which has been really fun. I mean, to watch these guys just get started. And we've had the luck. I mean, I'm old enough. We've seen Pettit, Mariano, Passat, all these guys come up, and we know the fun that's involved with the young homegrowns. And now we're doing it again, and that's what I want people that are watching to really make sure. It's like, yes, there's the winning. And I'm all about it, and we all want to win. But enjoy the youth and watching this. It's special when you see a Hall of Famer as a rookie. When you see one of the greats of all time hit his first home run, that kind of stuff. And that's what you're seeing, and you have to enjoy that stuff because it doesn't happen year in and year out.
Yeah. Have you read Brian Hoke's book? He's the beat writer for the Yankees Baby Bombers. It just came out about 2 months. Great book. Basically what he does is he walks through everybody from Bird to Andujar and just how the Yankees got him, how they got Hicks and all the different trades. Great book. We actually had him on our show in Houston we recorded last week.
And it's funny how not everything works out perfect, as we're going to find out. But that's the other thing. It's not what happens to you in life. It's what you do with what happens. And I think the Yankees are a great Plan B, Plan C organization. They don't expect everything they do to work. I see other organizations that have a plan like, that is not working, and they will move off that plan and make a deviation or make an adjustment. And I think that's really important in business. And I think Sports Sometimes Connect is a great example that, you want to put your head down, you want to come up with a strategy, but the ones that can come up with the compromises and adjustments That's how you win.
Yeah.
And most of the time, your first idea is not your best idea, but doesn't mean, or a lot of times your first idea is a good idea, but you got to take your best to make it better. That was Mariano's thing. Like, Mariano, throw a changeup, throw a curveball already. It's enough. Throw a slider. He's like, well, Brad, I don't need to do that. I take my best and I make it better. Till they can hit my best, why should I throw something else? And what I learned from him was that you know a lot of times people do focus on their weaknesses, and I think most people don't recognize your weaknesses as much as you do. And sometimes I think people play out their weaknesses way too much. It's over exaggerated. And what you should do is play up your strengths. Take your strengths, and even no matter how good those strengths are, make them even better. Make them just insanely great. And I think that's like a Mariano Rivera. When you look at him and you look at some of the great ones we've seen, it's the one thing they do so well, and they don't let the weaknesses bring them down.
That's awesome. Final question for Brandon Steiner here on the 162 Experience. If you had to give yourself advice at age 18, knowing what you know now, looking back, what do you think you'd tell yourself?
I tell myself to be patient. I probably wasn't the most patient, as you can imagine. I was, really driven, relentless, persistent, and I would tell myself to get home for dinner a little more often. When my kids were younger. I try to be a great dad, but at the end of the day, I probably was a good dad with some signs of greatness. And I should have been a great dad with some signs of being a good dad. And if I would have got home a little earlier, taken my time a little bit on some of the success buttons, maybe I missed a couple meetings. I would say, life's short, but also play the long game. To me, it's all about relationships, and take your time. There's plenty of time to hit all the buttons you want to push, but there's nothing like more important than family. And so I would have had a little serious talk with myself about that. And I probably wouldn't have worked in college. I would have said, Brandon, borrow a little bit more money, enjoy college. I worked full time in school. I don't have a lot of regrets, but I probably regret that. I had enough work experience going into college that I probably didn't need to have to hustle and go work. I probably just should have enjoyed myself and get myself more time to learn. And I probably would have told myself, Brandon, don't worry about the money. You'll figure it out later. Enjoy college.
You ever get up to any of the Syracuse games still?
Of course. I'm up at Syracuse probably about 7-8 times a year. Nice. Travel with the team once or twice a year. Very close with a bunch of the coaches. I'm a big Syracuse fan, supporter, alumni. Just got the Ernst Award, which is the highest award for a Syracuse alum.
Wow, congrats.
So very grateful to the school for everything, for what they've done for me. Taking a chance on a poor kid from Brooklyn that probably didn't deserve based on his grades, and getting in, and they gave me a chance. And I always promised them that if I made good, I'd come back and make them proud. So hopefully I've done that.
You sure have. Brandon Steiner, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate
you. Okay, guys,
you.
162 Experience, we're out. The great Brandon Steiner.